It is that time of the show when we say hello to today's guest, and we are joined by Kym Benner, who is a professional doula. And if you don't know what a doula is, you're in good company because, frankly, I don't either. But let's find out. Kym, first, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And I'm curious, I think I have kind of an idea, but what is it? I don't even know what doula means. What's a birth doula?
A doula is a person that helps a mom and supports her through her pregnancy, labor, and delivery, and actually postpartum time. And doula is a Greek word, actually, that means mother's helper, actually also means servant.
Oh, well, I could always use more servants. So, and I hope this isn't offensive, but what many of us think of as a midwife.
No, not at all.
No, what's the difference?
Not at all. A midwife, in the very simplest of terms, a midwife takes care of the baby, where a doula takes care of the mom. Oh. So a midwife does the medical stuff, and a doula does nothing medical at all.
Well, who delivers the baby?
The midwife does, or a doctor if you're in the office, or if you're in the hospital.
Okay, all right. So I had this big misconception there.
Everybody does.
Okay, so, and we know how important it is that a mom takes care of herself and treats herself and the baby correctly during pregnancy.
For sure.
So that's where you come in to help. And then either they can choose to have a delivery at home using a midwife, or in the hospital as planned.
Correct.
So what are the benefits of doing? I mean, do you find that you're doing more in-home deliveries, assisting a midwife, or more in the hospital? What's kind of happening out there?
There's definitely an increase in more home births and birth center births with midwives, but most of my births are in the hospital, and that's actually where a doula is most needed, is with a mom in the hospital. I've done my fair share of home and birth center births, and I absolutely love them. They're just the difference between night and day, because birth is natural. It's not a sickness. You're not, you don't have a disease. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just having a baby. And we've been doing it for centuries, right? And, you go to a hospital and it's thought to be a problem. And she needs to be medicated, strapped to a bed, and given all these things that don't need to happen. It's natural. No matter how you decide to birth, some women do epidurals, but it's still a natural process.
So what do you say to the person that says just that? It's a natural process. People have been doing it on their own for years. Why do we need you?
Because having a doula, especially in a hospital, is an advocate for the mom. So that after she's taken her birth classes and her husband has taken these classes with her, or her partner, you get into that situation and you're like, oh my gosh, what was it I learned? I don't remember what they said. Or what does this mean? Maybe it wasn't something that they learned. So you have somebody there that's a professional, that's been through this, knows the lingo, knows the protocols, policies, and procedures, and also knows the alternatives to do. So instead of say they want to break your water because they want to try and get things going. So no, we would use positions or other natural methods to get things going instead of being invasive. Doulas actually save C-sections by over 50%.
Wow.
So 50% less C-section rates, 25% faster labor, 40% less vacuum and forceps deliveries. It's pretty amazing what doulas do. Every day I think, I can't wait for insurance companies to really get a clue and how many millions of dollars we save them just in them staying home longer and not running to the hospital the minute they have a contraction.
And I guess it seems like it's the doctor's job to, get them through labor and done, and it sounds rough, but out as soon as they can. I remember, I've got two children, and when they were both born, and this was, 18 and 15 years ago, I was just amazed at how fast we were in and fast we were out.
Wow.
And I'm sure it's that way or even worse today.
It is, and actually, the statistics show that the OB is actually with a birthing mom for 20 minutes. So basically, they come in to catch. Very rarely do you get an OB that comes in and wants to spend more time or push the whole time with mom or even be her cheerleader. They mostly come in to catch. I mean, it's the nurses that do all the work and get that mom to a certain point and go, okay, call the OB. And sometimes they're telling her, stop pushing, wait for the doctor. So yeah, OBs aren't there as long.
So how did you get into this field? And do you have any certifications to do this?
Absolutely. I actually got into it when I was 15. My mom became a labor and delivery nurse. She went back to school. And so I was very intrigued by her job. And so when she'd come home, I'd want to hear all her stories, So I just got so into pregnancy and I just loved it. And then I got to be where I was involved with everybody I knew, whether I worked with them, they were family or friends. I always was involved in their pregnancy. How are you doing? What's going on? And ended up at everybody's birth, really. I for some reason, everybody wanted me there. And it was just natural, instinctual. And I did that for about 10 years. And then
Just kind of as a side thing, not
yes,
really as
it was a hobby.
Okay.
Really, I didn't know there was any such thing. And then the news, there was a segment on doulas, and I'm turning it up going, that's a job? Like, wow.
People can get paid for that?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, there's a title for what I've been doing. So, that was, over 24 years ago, I started doing this, and, I've been to over 400 births, and each one's amazing.
Along the way, did you take any special schooling?
Yes, when I was saw the segment on the news, there's a certification process that you go through. Yes, there is.
State or federal?
No, actually, it's different organizations.
Okay.
There's several different certifying bodies, and you go through their process. You have to read several books, and you take a intensive training, and then you have to have births that you use for your certification, and you have to write essays and get evals and all of that. So yeah. Plus, I do continuing ed all the time.
Right. And if there's a midwife, how do you work with them?
Actually, midwives and doulas are just very seamless, actually, because we have the same philosophy, that birth is natural, leave the mom alone. We don't need to be hands-on. We don't need to be intervening. So it's such a different birth to birth with a midwife versus with an OB. And not to say that OBs are bad. OBs are necessary for some births.
And they're just different.
They're very different.
And actually, I want to talk about that. From your perspective, is there a difference, or what are the pros and cons between doing a home delivery and a hospital delivery? Because I know everyone watching this is asking that, especially if there's a mom who is pregnant or considering getting pregnant. Gosh, should I consider doing something at home, or should I do it at the hospital? I think we get that a doula can certainly be helpful in either case.
Yes.
But what are your thoughts on that?
On whether to do hospital or home? It's very much a personal choice. Sometimes it comes down to money, but it's all whether you want to do it all au natural and have no intervention, or do you feel more comfortable in a hospital with an OB? Really, that's what it comes down to. For some people, it comes down to, what does my insurance cover? Because most people don't know.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to go through the whole process from when you get that first phone call to when you're sitting there staring at a newborn baby and everything in between, and then talk about some of those organizations that are out there for anyone that might want to get more information about having the services of a doula.
Awesome.
So don't go away. The best part of this conversation is yet to come. We are back and coming to you from the beautiful KGEM studios in Old Town Monrovia. And our guest today is a fascinating one. We are joined by Kym Benner, who is a birthing doula. And Kym, in the last segment, we were kind of getting an understanding of what a doula does, a midwife does, and I'd asked you, in your opinion, which is better, birthing at home with a midwife or in the hospital with an OB? And you had shared there's a lot of things to take into consideration, insurance being a big one of them. But are there some people that really should have their births in the hospital or really would be better off doing it at home?
Absolutely. I mean, there's definitely a place for OBs in hospitals, and one of those would be somebody that's high risk or has any medical complications. To be seen by a midwife and birth at home or in a birth center, you have to be in good health. There can't be high risk factors that make you have to be in the hospital. There are some medical things that midwives can handle, absolutely. But there are definitely situations where moms do need to be in the hospital and need to deliver in the hospital. OBs are a good thing. You know, I just did a birth 2 days ago, and it was a hospital birth, and it was absolutely necessary to be in the hospital. So, you know, there's definitely different situations, but, you know, some people think that having a midwife is absolutely out of their reach, and it's so not.
Really?
So not. No, not at all. You know, a lot of times people think it's just too expensive, but, you know, it's kind of like a doula. Some people think, you know, that's just an extra frill, when really it's not. You know, we spend a ton of money on wedding planners and all of this stuff we do for weddings, and which is one of the most important days of our lives, but so is having a baby, you know, and planning it. I mean, this is something you don't get back. It's there, that moment in time when you take pictures. That's it. You get that one expression.
You get that one chance.
Once, exactly.
Now, you mentioned birthing at home or a birthing center. What is a birthing center exactly, and how does that differ from the hospital?
A birthing center is a more homey atmosphere. There's several different kinds. Some are in a, you know, strip mall type place. Some are actual homes.
Oh, so after you give birth, you can go shopping.
Right? No, not in a mall. But the ones that are really amazing are freestanding, that are a home that was made into a birth center. They have all the medical equipment they need, but they're low-risk moms. Again, you know, they don't do C-sections, they don't do epidurals, you know, there's not narcotics that they give for pain relief, but they do have medications for certain complications that could arise. They can do an IV, they have oxygen, all of those things. They're very certified, and it all goes under the laws of the state.
Right. So for someone who may be a little uncomfortable birthing at home, where they obviously have no equipment, but really don't want the sterility and the fast pace of a hospital, a birthing center might be a great middle ground alternative.
Yes, it is a huge middle ground. And actually, if you're birthing at home, the midwife will bring all of her equipment with her. So she doesn't just come with her hands and heart. She has everything she needs.
And a catcher's glove?
Yeah, and a catcher's glove. No, those, no.
You don't use those
Yeah,
anymore?
no. But they come with everything they need. So, you know, sometimes people think that a birthing center is like a hospital and that home birth is just totally and completely raw, whereas the midwife still brings everything with her that she would need.
Okay. And that's just fascinating, because I'm hearing more and more women are talking about doing birth in a more natural environment, whether it's home or a birthing center versus the hospital. As you know what, who likes to be in the hospital, even if it's for a good thing?
Absolutely. And it's sad because it really just has such a negative connotation sometimes, you know, which is why a lot of what I do with my mommies is I labor with them at home as long as possible, so that when we go to the hospital, we're almost ready to go and we're not being pressured.
All right, well, we've got just a few minutes left, so take me through the steps.
Okay.
A mom calls you and says, you know, I know a little bit about doulas, not sure if I can afford one or if I really even want one. What do you do? So from that point, you get that first phone call and they hire you. What happens? Take me through the process.
So I'm on call 24/7 for my clients from the time they hire me. That means they can call me if they have any questions.
I'm sure your husband and family love that.
They do. Just ask my husband.
Exactly.
Well, almost 25 years later, I think he's doing okay.
Okay, he's hanging with
He's hanging in there. So if they have any questions, concerns, or hey, I just got back from the doctor and they said this, what do you think? What does this mean? What else can I do?
Or for that new mom, something happens. They feel something, which often is really nothing. But our brains the way they, suddenly, so they've got someone that's not a doctor
Yes.
that they can call and say, hey, this just started happening.
Yes.
What do you think?
Exactly. And because I've been in this field for so many years, I have many people I can call upon if I have to get more information. And then I have 2 to 3 prenatal appointments with them in my home and in their home. And we go over things like developing a birth plan. So I get to know her, what she wants, what her wishes are, what her concerns are, the things she knows she doesn't want, and a lot of education. And then,
And do you work with the husband as well?
absolutely, a lot of
I know
people
when I
think,
went through it, I took all those baby classes.
yes, yes. And a lot of people think, oh, you must do it for single moms. Not at all. I've had maybe 2 single moms in my whole career. It's so amazing. It takes the pressure off a dad, and he doesn't have to go, what does this mean? What's going on? Why is she bleeding? He gets to just be her husband.
Yeah, I'll tell you, all those
calm.
classes, I was freaking out because I
Yeah.
thought I have to memorize all
Yes.
this. Because what if something happens and I don't remember?
Yes, exactly. So then I join them at home and labor with them at home as long as they want, and then we help in deciding when it's time to go to their place of birth. And then the biggest thing I do, especially in a hospital, is to be their advocate. So they're being listened to, respected, their birth plans being followed as much as possible. And then I do things like massage and acupressure and getting them in different positions and using different techniques.
And then the glorious day comes, baby is born happy and healthy. But from what you said earlier, it doesn't sound like you're done at that point.
No, not done at all. Ask my husband the cards I get at Christmas time and, my repeat clients that come back. It's really amazing. I always say, when I just left the birth the other day, I said, this isn't the last time you'll see me.
But do you include any postnatal care?
Yes, I do. I do a postpartum visit, and we get together and check on mommy, how she's feeling, if she's breastfeeding, help with breastfeeding, and talk about the birth. A lot of times they forget what happens or ask questions like, why did we have to do that? Like, what was the problem? Could I have done something different?
Because I know just from my experience, and for most of us, it's usually worse with the first child. But, just like all those things that happen when you're pregnant and you don't know if it's a big thing or a nothing.
Right.
When the baby comes along, the baby could hiccup and you don't know if it's a death threat or nothing.
Yeah.
So having someone like you around that you
Yes.
can call and say, hey, the baby's being a little cranky.
Yes.
Is that, what does that mean?
Exactly.
It can really take some pressure off.
For
By the
sure.
second kid, we always, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't even wash the binky off anymore. But no, we always
just lick
did.
it, right?
Yeah, here. But I can see where that really could be helpful. Now, for
Yes.
someone who wants more information about what you do, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, the best place probably to get a hold of me is my website, and it's kymthedoula.com, and it's KYM, thedoula.com, and my phone number is 951-218-5490.
Okay. Kymthedoula.com. Kym, thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you.
This has been fascinating.
Thank you very much.
And don't go away. We will be right back.